You're listening to High Frequency Healing on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that explores the awakening of superpowers through higher dimensional healing.
Hello, this is AngelaMaría, one of the Superpower Up hosts, and you're listening to High Frequency Healing Show. The only difference between where you are to where you want to be is the actions you take here and now to heal your life. Let's take a deep breath and be here and now. I invite you to enjoy this time together. So here we go. Let's welcome Jason Shiers. Did I pronounce your name right?
You did. You got it right. Perfect.
Thank you. So thank you. And welcome to my show. Today, we will be talking about how to gain power through your weight. And this title is not at all about how deep we are going to go. So Jason is a certified transformative coach and certified psychotherapist. He has been working with addictions and people in recovery for 25 years now and is always looking towards the innate mental health that is inside everyone. Join me to welcome Jason Shiers. Jason, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to do this.
Okay, so Jason, what's your healing superpower?
Absolutely. I would say it's insight, like where people come to me with all sorts of things and they talk to me about problems, and it's like I'm always able to see what really is going on, and it's never what people think it is. It's kind of like people say, well, this is what's going on, and I ask a few questions, and it's like I just have this real sense of what people are really struggling with, which is so helpful when working with people.
I love that, the power of going inside.
Yeah.
Jason, would you please take us back to your early years and name one memorable life lesson that is useful for you today?
I think the biggest life lesson, and it almost sounds crazy, but it's was the fact that I had a family physically, but I didn't feel very connected to them. And the fact that I had that experience drove me towards the path that I'm on today. It's kind of just wanting to have a different experience of life and to provide a different experience of life for the people around me and my children, just so if that hadn't have happened, it's like I would never have gone on in the direction that I went in,
Mm-hmm. Jason, you were mentioning your kids. Do you have kids on your own?
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son.
Oh my God, that's awesome. And those ages are very special. And I'm asking you this because I didn't share with you this question. It just came up right now. But I'm wondering how is to have all of this knowledge to guide people to go inside and having those little ones who see you as a model. So do you teach your kids how to go inside, and do you teach your kids all of these techniques and strategies that, of course, are appropriate for the age to your kids?
Yeah, not so much with my 2-year-old, but for sure with my 9-year-old. It's like my 2-year-old shows me how to go inside. He knows how to have fun. He knows how to throw food everywhere. He doesn't care. He has no belief. No thoughts about anything, My 9-year-old, I talk to her about wisdom. I talk to her about the wisdom that's inside all of us. I talk to her about thoughts, and how thoughts create our reality and our experience of life. Mm. And, whatever I get the opportunity to talk to her about, and she's so receptive. She's like a little sponge, she listens to all sorts and makes sense of it in her own little way, and I'm really excited to see how it shows up in her life because she's so sensitive and thoughtful,
Yeah, and I just would like to invite all of you who are listening and you have kids, please, let's give our kids all of this information. Let's teach them how to go inside, because this show is about high frequency healing, and we cannot connect to this high frequency healing if we don't know how to go inside, if we don't know how to connect to that wisdom that we are inside. So Jason, Where can people go to find out more about you?
Everything's on my website, which is www.wideworldcoaching.com. And you can find my phone number, my email, my Facebook, Twitter. Everything is on there. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Could you say it again?
Yeah, wideworldcoaching.com.
Perfect. So we've been talking with Jason Shiers about how to gain power through your weight. When we come back from this short break, we're going to talk more about his healing superpower. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
We're back and you are listening to High Frequency Healing Show. Today, we are talking with Jason Shiers about how to gain power through your weight. So, Jason, was there a burning bush moment that made your heart desire changing your path in life?
Yeah, I think there was a realization of the stories that I told myself about why I couldn't achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, and it was the realization, because to me, realization is the most powerful experience of change, where I realize something that's already inside of me, and it's not something I have to get. And I realized that I made up so many stories about why I couldn't lose weight, why I would never be fit, why I would never be the way I wanted to be, why I would never achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And I told myself these stories for years about not being good enough, about people not being interested in what I had to say, around my weight, about, I am just this big, or I'm just this overweight person. It's kind of like, and the stories were endless and endless. And I had a realization where I thought, God, I've made all this up. It's kind of like, none of it's true, none of it's true. And all it does is it facilitates me staying the same and not changing, And from that moment, I never, ever looked back. Those stories, I question everything about that, and I never have a story about why I can't do anything. I just don't have that at all. It's completely gone.
And that's super powerful. And that is guiding me to the next question. So I was checking your website, and there is a statement that really called my attention. And it says, change from inside out. And the other one was transform your life. So how do you change your mind? How do you change that story to be able to create where you are right now?
I think to be able to change from the inside out, you have to realize that life only works from the inside out. It only works one way. Most people live in the feelings of their circumstances, and the feelings of the external world, the feelings of people and situations and things. And, I had a moment where I realized, my whole life was created by me, that everything that I saw was a projection of my mind, that none of it was coming from the circumstances, none of it was coming from my physical being, my body, or my job, or my relationships, or my family, or whatever it was. All of it came from inside of me. And when I had that realization, my life changed so profoundly in a moment, one moment of realization, that all of a sudden it was like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. And, because I realized that for myself, and I saw it to be true for everyone, that everyone was projecting their reality, and because I see that so clearly for other people, it's kind of like makes it easier for me to work with people in that way.
Mm-hmm. Jason, so do you believe, because you have verified in your life, that when you really change the way you think and the way you see yourself and the way you see your life and your success, all of this projects a different reality outside?
Well, yeah, it's not so much changed the way you think, but it's understanding that you think. Like thinking is like our reality is created through thinking, and just the understanding that, we are creating our reality creates a different experience of that reality. And for me, that, because, to put it into contrast, before that, everything that I thought was real looked really real, to me. And I lived within the feeling of my thinking. And that's how our reality is created. But when I realized there's much more of a powerful guidance to life beyond my thoughts, like that wisdom, that universal mind that drives all of us, that life wouldn't exist without, that's there, that's accessible beyond my thoughts, and consciousness, my consciousness, how life is, how my thoughts are brought to life. It's a different experience completely to how I saw life before. I guess the difference is outside in versus inside out,
Is the perception of the reality, because you may think this is the reality, but that could change like this, like just snapping your fingers, when you realize that's not the reality you would like to live in.
Yeah, like most people are living in what I call like a video player in their head, most of their day they're not present in life, they're living life as a victim of their circumstances, and they go through their life really struggling to be happy, because everyone wants to be a bit happier, right? They want to be a bit more content, more joy, more success, more fulfillment, more security, and it's like, it looks to them like, if only I could change my circumstances, then I would have these things. And then they live in the video of that, like, if only, or when I get this, I will have that, when I get here, or when I lose this weight, or when I get this amount of money, or when I have this relationship I want, or when my business is better, then I will be happy. But when they live in the video of that tape, playing in their mind, they're missing out on the present. And that's the only place that joy and happiness and success and fulfillment and security, happiness, those things are only available right now in this moment, and those people are like struggling and missing out on that,
And I was just going a little bit deeper into this because I want to move to how to gain power through your weight. But to be honest with you, and we were discussing this before we start this interview, it's not a matter about your weight or your body. It's something really deep and profound. We constantly give up our power to people and or external situations. So how could we take that power back through your weight, through your body, through the X or Y illness you are dealing with right now? Could be an addiction, could be a relationship that is completely unhealthy, a work you wouldn't like to do anymore, whatever is in your life really blocking you. How can you just really take our power back from that situation?
I think that like when you really see clearly that your life is created from the inside and not from the outside, that giving power away, that experience of feeling powerless to circumstances and experiences and our physical being outside of ourselves just disappears, because we realize that it's just an illusion anyway, and it's an illusion that most people live towards. They see that they are, like I said before, that victim of circumstances or of their weight or whatever it is. But life just doesn't work that way. And when you realize, and like I said a little bit earlier, the power of realization is that like, it's not like something that you wonder, is it true? It's like something that on a deep level, like, like I really know how life is created. I don't have to ask somebody else or check in from day to day. I just know, and it's like when you have that deep knowing of how your life is creating, you realize that no one can take your power away. There's nothing or no one that can hurt you or do anything to you,
So if we go back to the topic, that is how to gain power through your weight. And we relate that to where we are talking, that the reality is created inside. And I believe all the experiences you have had could we say then that it's not if I 45 or 80 pounds or 120 or 20 pounds, is that related with the weight I feel I'm carrying in my life, with the life itself, more than what I eat?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me.
Okay, this is what it is. When you have, because I have had some situations with people around me, when you have a really tough emotional body, it's an emotional body really charged with a lot of depression, an inner child or a childhood who was tough, with parents who were really strict, and then you start having relationships that they are not healthy. And this emotional body is too dense and too heavy. Sometimes your body reacts to that and it starts showing the weight that is not because of what you eat. It's because of what you are carrying in your energy body.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, like, it's that you carry so much stress about what you think life is. I mean, you're carrying the past and the future don't exist, right? They only exist in thought. That's the only way the past and the future can come into the present, is through thought. And when you live in that, same thing that I mentioned before, when you live in that videotape that's going on in your head about the past, about the future, about trauma, about abuse, about addictions, relationships that have broken down, childhood experiences, inner child, when you live in that place and your body is highly stressed all the time, releasing cortisol into your system, and then your body just doesn't function very well, like physically. It's like your hormones are all over the place, but to put perspective on that is that, like, it's still the same, that when you realize your experience is created from the inside, and you stop living in all those thoughts about the past and the future, that you can experience change from that, that hormone release, that imbalance, that constant stress, that anxiety, it changes from the inside out in the same way. There's nothing any different about that.
Yes. I completely agree. And in this moment, I'm working with somebody that she's overweight. And she realized that she's not what she eats. She said, I'm always eating vegetables, fruits. I just drink water because I don't like sodas, but she's overweight. And she has to start losing weight when she start really embracing her inner child and realizing that everybody, when she was like 3-4 years old, called her gordita in Espanol, like little fat.
Yeah.
And that created a lot of stress because she didn't see herself fat, but it was like let's say a nice word from people, because out of the 3 of the sisters, she was the thicker, a little bit heavier than the other 2, but it didn't mean she was fat. So that's why I wanted to ask this question, because it's not just her. I've heard a lot of people, and I've met a lot of people, that they are struggling with weight, and not just because they are overweight, because they are underweight. And it's all of this emotion, and this exactly what you said, the kind of life they are creating from inside.
Yeah, and another thing to add to that is that that's how the reality is created. But the food is what I call the solution or the symptom. What you could call it either of those two things. It's like food is the solution to the inner world if you don't understand how your life is created, or it's the symptom of how you create your inner world. It's not the problem.
Okay, Jason. So let's keep on attaching and building this topic that I think is just really, really important. You also work with addictions. What is an addiction?
From my understanding, an addiction is a habit that's been formed, that people keep repeating. Often they don't want to do it, and often it can be destructive as well. Okay.
So how do you work with people whose addictions are the food, the diets, and not just the food and the diets from the physical thing, but the food that nourish their energy and their mind, what they think, what they believe, what they imagine that is really feeding their physical and their energy body?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it often looks to those people like everything is about the substance, whether the addiction is drugs or alcohol or food or gambling or processes, whatever it is. It often looks like they really want to solve the problem that they have, but it's the same way that everything is created from the inside. If you think about it, people who are really happy don't really get addictions because they're already happy. Addictions is when people feel like something's not right in their life or they're struggling with something, then they look to something outside of themselves to make them feel better inside, and that's how it works, that something outside, and for me that was food for many years and drugs and different things, and for many people that I've worked with, it's been all sorts of process, like relationships and gambling and gaming and the internet and shopping and the list of things is endless because it can manifest itself in so many ways. But regardless of whether the addiction is to a substance or a process or a person or an experience or whatever it is, they're all treated, apart from the medical, the physical side of it, with withdrawal and detox and things like that, they're all treated in the same way, from the inside out. That it's about the internal process of that person. It's just manifested itself in a different way. Now, people struggling with food, there's a big social acceptability thing between somebody suffering with weight and somebody who's a drug addict, for example. It's kind of like they see themselves worlds apart, but actually there's no difference in the problem that they're suffering with, and there's no difference in the way you treat it.
Yeah, and I would like to highlight something that you just said that I want to clarify with the audience. And it's, we are not saying that you may not need a doctor or a nutritionist or somebody who guides you through the physical stuff. What we are discussing here is that the root, the main cause comes from inside. Yes, as the client that I work with, yeah, of course, she has a special diet and she goes to the doctor. She was going to a psychologist that she chose to stop just because she realized it's not about anything else but the way that I am conceiving, thinking, and creating myself. It was so hard for her to see herself being thinner. Yeah. So it's important that we clarify this. Yes, you may need that support from the outside, but the main work to do is go inside, because that's where the really cause comes from. It's not always the food. It's not always the kind of exercise you're doing, how many times you're eating, carbs or sugars. Is why your body is assimilating that in a faster or in a slower way that is creating this disorder in your physical body.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit to that, is that when people come to me and they, I always want to meet somebody where they're at. So somebody might come to me and say, "Hey, I really want to lose weight," and then we agree and we start working together. And it's like, so when they come, they think, "Oh, yeah. So what am I going to do with my eating?" And I'm like, "Oh no, we're not going to talk about food. Food is not even on the agenda." And what I actually find is that when I've worked with people for a while, the food actually starts to take care of itself, and they realize their ability to make healthy choices changes, and they realize their ability to say no changes, whereas in the past they had so little power to make the choices that they wanted to make, or they've had so little desire to research and to find out what's healthy and what's not, and to search, if they need it, to find that medical person to help them through that part of the process, but people are innately healthy, they have the knowledge, they have access to wisdom inside of them, and when they stop indulging in that stuff, in that self-defeating behavior and beliefs, that they actually find that they have access to do the right things as well.
And I love what you just said. The food takes care of itself. Yeah. The food is going to be organized at some point. If you put everything in order inside, if you establish your priorities, if you raise your energy, if you feel healthy, if you feel motivated, if you feel that you have the power to create your life and you feel it, you think it, you take action based on that, you're unstoppable, period.
Absolutely.
Jason, what has been one of the most beautiful, powerful healing processes you have guided or witnessed through your practice?
I've witnessed many miracles, that look way beyond miracles. Something bigger than me has to be operating in the universe. I think the biggest is like meeting somebody who came straight from jail, who'd suffered with addictions their whole life, who was drunk when I met them. It looked like there was no hope for them. I'm talking about after 30 years of taking substances and chemicals, and watching in a short period of time how the lights came on, like when I first met them, when they were looking at the floor and like unable to communicate, to the point where they had bright eyes, they had hope, they had friends, they had a job, they were a productive member of society, and they, most importantly, they were happy, and they had no desire to self-destruct anymore, and that's just so magical and such a miraculous experience to be part of,
Mm-hmm. And I know you meant it in this way, but I always want to clarify this because I used to say a lot magic, and people thought that when I said magic or magical, I meant don't do anything because it's boop, magic. And it doesn't mean like that.
No.
It's magic because you create it. It's magic because it comes from you. It's nothing that it was given to you from another person. It's something that you connect inside you. And when you connect to the inside, as Jason has said it many times during this interview, you create magic. And that comes from the power in within.
Yeah. We're just quickly, we're wired up. We're wired up for success. We are wired for success. We are wired for health. We are wired to be, our body repairs itself when it breaks. It's kind of like our mind is no different. When it looks broken at the time, when you get out of your own way, and when you allow that power that's inside all of us to shine through, to guide you in life, then magical things happen for sure.
Oh, yeah. And you need to take action. And not always the action is outside. Yep. Most of the times, the most powerful actions are inside. Mm-hmm. Jason, so could you share with us 2 steps or 2 tips for anyone to start this healing process?
Yeah, I'd say the first biggest tip is that, like, with no exceptions, never, no matter what, that how you're feeling is not a reflection of what's going on outside of yourself in your world. Whether it's a broken relationship, whether it's being overweight, whether it's suffering with addictions, whether it's being abused or having trauma or whatever it is, the experience that you're having right now today in this moment is not a reflection of that event. It's a reflection of your thoughts in the moment. That's the first tip, And the second tip is when you start looking inside for the answers and start believing, that the answers always come from within, there's the biggest amount of freedom, that happiness and contentment and joy and security and fulfillment and all those things that you're searching for outside of yourselves are available, in this moment from within.
Could you say the last sentence again, please?
That happiness, joy, contentment, peace, security, fulfillment, all those emotions, they're available right now in this moment from within and only from there,
Everything is available right now from within. And sometimes we think that, oh my God, maybe I'm going to make this happen in 20 years. I don't think I'm going to be alive to see my kids grow, or I don't think I'm going to be able to make this amount of money or have the financial freedom or the health or the love. But when we really connect to this power, everything is available right now, here and now, from within. Jason, thank you so much. Could you please remind our listeners where they can go to find out more about you?
Yeah, sure. My website is www.wideworldcoaching.com.
Thank you, Jason Shiers, for sharing your healing superpower with us today.
Oh, thank you for this. I've loved this conversation. It's been so much fun.
Oh, yeah. And thank you, all of you, for joining us. I am AngelaMaría, Conscious Creation. Change actions, shift energy to live heaven down here on earth. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.